Personal managers and talent agents, as I've indicated, have different roles. The job of the personal manager, of course, is to advance the artist's career from one level to the next, whereas the job of the talent agent is to procure employment on behalf of the talent. Sometimes this can create some, as Robin Thicke would say, blurred lines. And this is the reason why the state of California wanted to be sure and was one of the first states to enact legislation requiring talent agents to register with the state. In 1967, they enacted the California Talent Agency Act, basically saying anyone that procured employment on behalf of an artist or any other kind of talent had to be registered with the state of California. And then in 1978, I think because of obvious instances of personal managers not being registered as talent agents but procuring employment, California decided to add personal managers also as a category under the Talent Agency Act. In other words, if personal managers procured employment on behalf of their talent, they also had to be registered under the Talent Agency Act in California. Now, if you're registered as a talent agent in the state of California, the contracts with your artist or the talent that you represent can only be 2 years long. And that's because any talent agent registered with the state of California must comply with union contracts. Now, the two primary unions for musicians are the American Federation of Musicians and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. Of course, the AFM, American Federation of Musicians, represents instrumentalists and musicians primarily, whereas AFTRA, the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, represents vocalists. And their form contracts say that talent agents can only represent those types of talents for 2 years. So if you're a registered talent agent in the state of California, your contract can only last 2 years. Also, if you're a talent agent, your maximum commission can only be 10%. However, if you're a personal manager and registered with the state of California as a talent agent, that commission can be 15% because you're in a position of offering both the services of procuring employment and advancing the artist's career. Now, that creates quite a problem with most personal managers in the music business. Because as we just talked about earlier, most personal managers want a commission of at least 20%. And a personal manager also wants a contract that can last up to possibly a minimum of 5 years. Personal manager doesn't want to get involved with the talent, working with the talent, identifying producers and studios and trying to get a recording agreement and a publishing agreement, which might take 2 years to actually happen, only to have the act at that point signed with another personal manager, and they lose the investment that they've made over those past 2 years. So the result is most personal managers do not register as talent agents in the state of California. Most personal managers don't register as talent agents in the state. And I mean personal managers not that just live in the state of California, but also managers that live in other states, even in other countries, because if you have a talent that becomes successful in entertainment, sooner or later, they're going to go to the entertainment capital of Los Angeles. They're going to perform on TV shows. They're going to perform possibly in movies. They're going to have other activities in the state. They might record in the state of California. Many artists, once they become successful, rent condos or even buy houses in the state of California. And once that happens, once they have significant contacts with the state of California, then they fall under the jurisdiction of California law. So even if I'm a manager, say, in my home state of Ohio, and I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, about an hour away from Cleveland is a city called Akron, Ohio. And I'm just showing you how real this could be. There was an actor, drummer, and a guitar player and singer that put together a great band that became very successful from Akron, the Black Keys. Suppose I was their manager early in their career, and I was trying to book them across the country. I decided that I wasn't going to register as a talent agent in the state of California or any place else for that matter. I strictly the manager, trying to advance their career, and as a part of that, I decided that I was going to try to book some dates in the state of California. And did, in fact, before they became famous. Well, once they become famous, at that point, if there's ever a problem between the artist and the manager, the artist might use the fact that I booked dates for them in the state of California against me. Because if I am not a registered talent agent in the state of California, that artist could file a complaint against me with the California Labor Commissioner that oversees enforcement of the California Talent Agency Act. And in that complaint, they can allege that I was an unregistered talent agent, but I booked engagements for them in the state of California in violation of that act. There's very serious ramifications from the filing of a complaint with the California Labor Commissioner, because the California Labor Commissioner can order a hearing on that. And if they determine that I, in fact, procured employment in the state of California and I was an unregistered talent agent, the Labor Commissioner can make two findings. One, order that the contract between me and the talent is terminated. And two, order me to pay all of the back commissions that I might have earned up to that point to the talent, to the artist. A lot of people aren't aware of that act, and it's very important. When I first got involved, my very first case when I first started practicing law was with the OJs. And at that time, the OJs were huge stars, and they had fired their manager a couple of years before. They had stopped paying him commission. And at some point, the manager felt that the agreement was still in force. So he sued the OJs for $100,000, and that was a lot of money back then. And of course, I'm a young law student, and my childhood idols, the OJs, gave me this case, and I was thrilled but scared, of course. And all I could do was apply what I learned in law school, and that is to go to the law library and research the case. And that's exactly what I did. Once again, this is in 1980. The California Talent Agency Act had only added personal managers to be considered as talent agents in 1978. And as I researched, I found that law. And it said that if a personal manager does not register as a talent agent, and they procure employment in the state of California, they're violating the California Talent Agency Act. So I called a California attorney and made him aware of the circumstances. First, of course, I had to speak with my clients, the OJs, and I sat down with them one day, one of the members, and I said, "Did this manager ever get any gigs for you over the past few years?" And he said, "Yeah, there was a time 2 or 3 years ago that he came to us and he said, I've got this tour in California for you. I've got dates in Stockton and Sacramento. You'll do San Diego, and of course you'll do LA and Oakland." And this is the problem with personal managers. They always like to take credit for getting work for the artist. So they're more than happy to say, "I got this for you." Little did he know that that would come to haunt him. Because once I got that information and shared it with the California attorney, we strategized that we would prepare a complaint with the Labor Commissioner against the manager, alleging that he violated the Talent Agency Act by procuring employment without being a registered talent agent. And we decided we'd send a copy of the complaint to the manager, just to let them know, look, we're going to file this complaint against you. We found that you violated this act. As soon as we sent the complaint to him without even filing it with the labor commissioner, the manager dropped the lawsuit. And of course, I loved it, a new lawyer, and I came up with something for the OJs, and something that really helped the OJs. And they were able to say, well, this young lawyer, maybe he can do a pretty decent job. So that's how I first became aware of this Talent Agency Act. And surprisingly, folks, that was many years ago. To this day, many personal managers are unaware of that act. And many personal managers have been caught in the web of procuring employment on behalf of their clients in the state of California and violating that act because they weren't registered talent agents. I'll give one other example. In the early 90s, Arsenio Hall, who was also from my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, had a talk show, evening talk show, that became very successful overnight. And after the first 2 years, his manager went into the network and renegotiated an extension of his contract and renegotiated it and came back to Arsenio Hall and said, Arsenio, look, I renegotiated this agreement and this is what you're going to get. And Arsenio didn't ask him to do that. And he said, well, wait a minute, I didn't ask you to do that. I might have, I wanted to be included in that. In other words, he was upset with his manager for doing that. And he filed a complaint with the labor commissioner, basically alleging that his manager, who was not a registered talent agent, had procured this extension of his contract without his permission. They went through a hearing, and the labor commissioner did find that his manager was an unregistered talent agent and had procured employment in violation of that act, terminated the contract, and ordered the manager to pay $2.5 million in back commission to Arsenio Hall. Now you would think with that happening in the early 90s, managers would still be aware of that. Well, there's been case after case since then where managers have gone in and procured employment on behalf of their talents, and they weren't registered as talent agents. And so the lesson here is, if you are a personal manager, don't procure employment in the state of California. Make sure that your artist has a talent agent to perform those services. Now, you're certainly going to be in a position, as Shelley Berger was, to screen the types of engagements that the talent agent procures. But your job is to determine which of those engagements are the best ones for them to take. But you can't be involved in the solicitation and the negotiation of that. Now, that law has had some changes over the years. I think currently it is allowable for managers at least to reach out to record companies and publishing companies and talk about doing a potential deal. But for the most part, that has to be incidental to what they're doing otherwise. In other words, there can't be a significant amount of procuring employment in the state of California. Also, they have a similar law in the state of New York, but that law is a little more lax in enforcement. It does allow a manager to procure employment just so long as those services are incidental to the other duties that the personal manager is performing.